go ahead and share this to my main page so I can get some more people watching, get this topic going. What's going on, guys? Sorry. I feel like this is going to be an important conversation. It's one I've wanted to have for a long time. As you can see, I'm getting ready to step outside. Not really going to use any sources for this. It's more so just thoughts and things that everyone should know already. Like, it shouldn't be that big of a issue. God, Tsubaki. Look at her. My office is messy. But look at her. She won't stop. For the talk. I think I might have to start posting inside the groups to draw more attention to these subjects. Oh, watch out, guys. Oh, man. Because I like covering subjects that matter. Things that we really want to talk about, things that we really want to know. It's important. So, I go ahead and get outside. Put these two down so I can watch them. I can barely see myself in the screen. I'm sure y'all can see me all right. There you go. There goes one. Come on. Nails are stuck. Two. All right, cool. So, about to do my grounding for the day. It's very important that we ground ourselves and connect to the earth. Actually, it gives you more antioxidants in your system. And all in all, it just makes you better. What I'm doing right now mainly is I'm seeing posts. And if I feel like I need to talk on something or have a conversation about it, I will, until I feel like the conversation isn't necessary. And of course, I'm going to go back and revisit subjects over and over again, because it's important to go back over things and actually look at them deeper. I can't see my screen. That'd be all right. So, addiction. I don't know if you all know this, but we all should know this. We are in an opioid crisis right now in our country. There are people who are highly addicted to these substances. It starts off actually from big pharma and getting like medical care, and then people end up becoming addicted to the sensation. What is the use of drugs? What is addiction? Now, I like to walk between the worlds, between light and dark, between heaven and earth, between spirit and physical. It's one of my things that I'm proud of, because of being gray. It allows me to do that. So that means that, have I done drugs? Yes, I have done drugs in the past, just to try them out. But from what I found, I didn't like the way they made me feel. I didn't like what it caused inside of me. So we have to think about that. What is it that drugs are mainly doing when we take them? They are altering our perception of reality. Whenever you smoke, things get slower sometimes, or you smoke and things get fast. It gets more mellow. You take cocaine, things speed up. You take ecstasy and you're like, oh, I'm partying, and then fucking you can't sleep. There are different things that they're doing to our active mind that's participating with our reality. And that right there is a key part of understanding drugs and understanding addiction. I see people talking about, being addicted is not a choice. Well, we all have many addictions. I need you to understand this. Sugar, processed sugar, is one of the most addictive substances on the face of the planet. It's so addictive, it's inside all of our foods, or majority of our foods, and it's actually causing us a lot of harm. Okay? Processed sugar's not good for you. And we know this by the science, and people still won't stop. You will give your children McDonald's and all these unhealthy things instead of sitting down and cooking a good meal for them. Why? Doesn't make any sense. We know that stuff's bad. We'll have desserts, we'll stop by Starbucks, we'll get all these things going on, and that's an addiction. You start cutting your body out of sugar, you cut your body away from caffeine, you cut your body away from nicotine, your body goes through withdrawals. So you are addicted to things, especially sugar. You'll start craving the sugar. I'm on the 4th day of my fast right now. I haven't eaten anything, I've been drinking water, and I had like 1 tablespoon of coconut oil about 2 days ago because I felt hungry. And from there, I've just been controlling it with my mind and tell my body, you're fine. The stomach rumbles, and I'm like, you're okay. So I work heavily with my mind and with controlling myself, because if you're not controlling this thing, this self, this body, what are you doing? You're here. It's your body. It's your responsibility. It's your mind. It's your responsibility. You have to learn how to heal it. Not all people know how to heal it. Not all people are experimentation with themselves. They like seeing other studies. But sometimes I feel the best way to experiment is to go through it yourself. And that's why I did drugs as an experimentation type thing. So, and I learned from it. I learned I didn't like the way it feels, and I turned away from it. Me and my dad had a conversation about this when I was up in Kentucky with him. He was talking about the first time he tried cocaine, because he did it once before, and he said, I'm never doing this again. I was like, why do you say that, Dad? And he was like, because I liked it too much. So he knew it was an addictive thing. It was something he was going to get hooked on, and my dad didn't do it anymore. Tried it once, understood what it was, and said, I like it too much, that's dangerous for me. So what's actually happening right now is it's a complex system. As I said, there's many layers to the things we go through. Many ways that everything breaks down. You have emotional things that happen, you have the physical things that are happening, you have many ways that you can be brought into this type of cycle. There are many ways to get out of it as well. One of my friends, she was doing heroin. She is 4 years clean in a month. I think it was today or yesterday. And I didn't even know. I looked at her, she looked like she was zonked out half the time, but I wasn't paying close enough attention because that's how I knew her. I wasn't looking for the signs, and it wasn't none of my business. She died from it. I mean, people die. It's unfortunate, but everyone's going to go that way. And we all have our own stories to play out in the great play that is life. But she has overcome, and she has conquered her addiction. Sure, it's still there. It might bug her in her mind every now and then. But as long as she stays strong and has that support from herself and from those around her, she will be good. And I honestly believe this. So it's a conquerable thing, but it all starts out inside of your mind. The mind is the most important thing that you have, actually. Inside the Kabbalah, there's a rule. All is mind. And it breaks down in multiple ways and in multiple factions. And that's going to be more onto the spiritual talk. How the mind actually breaks down, what the different feelings are, our emotions, and how it's embodied. So, what's actually going on? Let's look at our healthcare system, because it goes back to there. And let's look at farming. Whenever we're spraying glyphosate on the ground, it's an antibiotic. So it's killing off the bacteria in the ground that our ancestors have had, that we have lived with, that our system's accustomed to, and that we need to take into our body. So we're getting incomplete foods. They're being messed with. And then as well as doing that, that also means that the bacteria can't put the nutrients into the soil that they need to do. And therefore, that's another double whammy of how we're getting into a nutrition deficient society with our food being messed with. So that's one thing. Now, since we're not getting our full nutrients, whenever we go ahead and we eat, we take this food into our stomach starts to get holes in it. It's called leaky gut. And your stomach is 80% of your immune system. But if your stomach is damaged and trying to repair itself, that's why you have IBS, inflammatory bowel syndrome. It's because your stomach cannot process the things that you are eating. You should probably actually not eat, fast, drink juices that are organic, and let your body heal some. And you'll start noticing that your body's able to create more serotonin. 80% of your serotonin in your system is made in your intestinal tract. It is very important that people understand that, because serotonin is the happy drug. So if you're not making this drug and people are eating, and you're constantly eating because your body, you're in your mind, you know that if you eat this, it makes me happy, you release the dopamine, you release the food, so you're trying to cope, and that leads to overeating, and that leads to obesity, which we have an obesity problem. Now, also, without that positive image drug of serotonin being made inside your brain, you will have a lot more negative self-talk that's going on inside yourself. And this negative self-talk is detrimental to your health as much as the food is, if not more so, because it really starts to shape the reality that you live in from the way that you view things. And it's important that we understand we are actively, constantly, consciously creating our reality, whether we want to or not. Some of us are understanding of these principles, others are unconscious to it. The sleep versus the awake. We see that going on a lot nowadays, and I think that some people that think they're awake are still partially asleep. You're like half awoken. You're like the state where your eyes are open, you got woke up from a nap and everything's kind of disoriented. Ooh, don't wake me up from a nap. It takes me about 20-30 minutes to get my stuff together. My brain needs to get right. But yeah, so we have this reality that's being created by ourselves, inside of ourselves, that's also being influenced by the chemicals that we lack, and we're calling it a chemical imbalance. We're also saying these things are genetic. No, these are all symptoms of a sick mind and of a sick body. And you have to learn how to work with both of them in order to bring about a complete healing to yourself. So why are people using drugs? What is going on? Well, let's look at the socio-political thing right now, okay? Now, do I want to break it down by races? You gotta remember, I don't believe that we're racist, that we have all that going on. My personal philosophy is we are the person that's inside of a body walking around, whether it's our body that we live in now, a white person, a black person, it doesn't matter. You can have various types of bodies. You can be an animal, a bird, a tree. And I'll constantly repeat this because I want people to understand this is where I come from. We're all the same. Male or female, we're all the same in that regards of we have the person looking out who's actively observing reality and all the various ways it breaks down and the ways we can perceive this. That's all that we are. A spark of light, as it's called. So when I start getting into the races and racism and things like that, I want you to understand I'm coming from this point, and I'm going to talk just as much about this group as I am about this group, and about this group as I am about this group. Why? Because it's an important reality check and to bring people back together. We have too many problems with our race issues. But why are drugs and addiction carrying out so much? Why is it the Midwest that's being affected? Well, if you look at the white society, you gotta understand how everything's breaking down. They're not the ones that's technically at fault. The media will make you hate the people that you should technically be looking out for. And it works for the black people as well as the white people, because white people are the middle class workers. They're the ones that are losing jobs a lot. Everyone that's middle class is losing jobs, but they feel it heavily in their areas. Their cities are decaying. Infrastructure's gone bad. I mean, Chicago now, you can't drink the water because there's lead problems with it, and lead is horrible for our system. So our infrastructure is collapsing. It's important for us to look over these things and realize that, hey, it's not necessarily their fault, and they get depressed over this. Then they get sick. They go to a doctor, take a pill, then you get an addiction. Because you get used to this feeling, this perception of you being made better, of you feeling better, of you being better, or it's more copable. Because I don't know if y'all have ever been really depressed, but I've been there. I've been through the ringer. Loved someone when I got the Marine Corps. Things fell apart. All types of stuff. And it left me in a state where I was heavily depressed. I could barely get out of bed. I just wrapped up inside a blanket and kept my house on like 65 degrees. I was living all alone. I'd go to work and I'd try to dance and play, but I couldn't. And I ended up like throwing up every day outside because the emotions that I had and them being severed the way they were so horrible to me that I didn't know how to cope with it. So my body had physiological stances. If I would have started taking drugs at that point in time, I probably would have become an addict. Because I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about myself. I thought I was worthless back at that point in time. To some extent. I was living a very here life, a very human life. And that's why I don't necessarily like being here inside my mind state and being a part of the physical world, because when you stay here, you start seeing all your inadequacies and you start trying to add them up to compare yourself to other people. And we have a lot of that going on. So just from mental pain alone, if you take opiate, your mind's going to relax. Nothing's going to matter as much anymore. Painkillers, you become numb. It's a complete numbing of the whole system. And what's it numbing? It's supposed to be numbing your body, but it's actually numbing your perception to things. So it's numbing your pain. That's what drugs are doing, these opiates. So these people are injured inside themselves in some way, shape, or form, whether it be mentally, physically, chemically, emotionally. They're experiencing some type of stress. And then from there, they're taking these drugs, and it moderates them. It helps them survive and exist. And eventually, it gets to the point where I need it. I need this drug. Okay? They can't control the mind's synapses and their own self to where they are able to function properly. They need the drug. And they'll betray people. I have a friend. She was helping out one of her friends. And, he was on methadone. He had been, which methadone's another trip. Once you get on it, you're not supposed to be able to get off. And whenever you try to get off of methadone, the clinics don't like to reduce your dosages because they need people to be on methadone for them to stay open. If there's no people taking methadone, then you don't need a methadone clinic in the area. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. They tell you need it, but you don't. Your body can heal. You just gotta back off if you don't want to have the extreme addiction side effects, which is going to be horrible depending on how long you've been taking it. But you can heal yourself. There is self-healing. I mean, your skin regenerates every 28 days. Your disc and your back regenerate every 120 days. Your bones regenerate and are constantly changing out by osteoblasts and osteoclasts. They're constantly changing and it's constantly growing and going back. So that's how you get tumors, because the cells go crazy inside of them. So, inside of that, when I sit up here and I look at it, your body is designed to heal. You're designed to be here. You will be okay. You just have to get back to normal, to balance, to homeostasis inside your mind and in your body. This guy was on methadone. He got a big settlement from a car accident. A car hit him while he was walking. And he disappeared. He went back to using drugs, to using heroin, and living on the streets and begging. And he left her with absolutely nothing, because not only did he take that, he ruined their whole setup they had going on. So, but that was his need for it. And then once he was like, oh, I've been lost myself, and he came back together, he tried to go back to his friend saying, oh, I'm better now, I'm back on my methadone. No, you can't trust that. And that's how people end up being isolated and forced into their various groups, because you can only be so lenient. You have to protect yourself from other people that would do you harm while they're trying to catch their fix. So these people in these areas are going through a depression. And we've heard about the economical depression. We've heard about there not being jobs. We've heard about issues that are going on in our country. We all are aware of this, and we're all trying to fight for political change. The politicians are trying to do things, but they're not actually changing anything, because the system is set up in such a way where they make mass profits. And anything that you see changing from the White House or from Congress, you can't trust it. because it's going to have some underlying thing wrote into it to where it's going to benefit them inside of a financial way. It's not about healing. If we're going to actually make the society better, it has to come from us. We have to rebuild community. That's why I made this page a community, because it's supposed to be community driven, to build together, to redo our society, to bring everything back into proper balance. We can't rely on someone else to save us. We have to save ourselves. So what do we do about our addiction epidemic? We have to teach them mental coping skills. We have to help them realize that they are worth something. They have to realize that they are loved. They have to see a way out of their dark situation that has put them there for them to be able to love themselves. That's the key part of this. A lot of it is just love for other people and doing what we know is right inside of ourselves, vice what the law says is right. Because how many laws have been made that weren't right? How many things are illegal that are horrible? So we can't necessarily go off of the law to actually rebuild our society, to make things better. Because if you go off the law, it's illegal to feed homeless people on the streets. For you to just get out there and do it yourself, that's illegal. But the key is, we can throw away food on the supermarkets once they go bad. How do we still have hungry people? The society doesn't make no sense. We're going to be the ones that have to fix it. So people say, was addiction a choice? It's not a choice. Other people fight that addiction is a choice. Well, by the breakdown that I understand, it's a choice. Because it starts from your initial contact. Now, the only addicts that I will say it is not a choice for is, let's say, the child sex slaves or women that grew up inside that area, or men, because they take both. And you're being injected with drugs all the time to keep you in a loopy state. You are not making that choice to ingest that drug. They are full victims. Okay? They are full-on victims. That's an addiction. That's something that's going to take time to undo, because the mind is also going to be messed up inside that situation if we can get to them before they end up dying. So, when it comes down to it, people get offered a drug, typically, and they agree to take it. It is our right as a sovereign being to decide the things we will do and won't do. Even if you feel like society has made it into such a way where you have no choice but to do this action, even though you know it's wrong, you always have a choice. It's the whole, your friends jump off of a bridge, but you jump off of it too. We always have a choice inside these situations. So on that basic grounds, yes. Then they liked it. That's what happened. It's like drinking coffee. You like it. Eating meat. Meat's toxic to us in some way. Some people it's good. It's alright inside low quantities, especially when there's wild game. You're not going to find cancers inside them. You're not going to find all these diseases that our meat are having now, because of the way that we are going through our practices of growing the meat and culturing the meat. Pretty much. The quick production of a cow, the quick production of chickens have left them to have awkwardly sized chicken breasts that are fucking huge. Okay? This is our fault. We're going through that. So, and if you tell people right now, like, oh, hey, you should stop eating meat. Oh, you're a vegan. I'm not a vegan. I eat meat. But I know inside of a year or so, I'm going to end up switching off of meat so I can be 30 and start getting sexy. But yeah. You tell them that, hey, you shouldn't eat meat, it's kind of bad for you. You can give them facts, and they're going to go back to their carnistic ways. Carnism is a school of thought that I found that a person has developed online. You should look into it on YouTube. And it talks about how we've made the meat industry, and instead of doing and eating meat in the proper amounts, we're eating way more meat than we need, and we're not taking in enough vegetables at all. And we don't technically need meat to survive. We can get protein from everywhere. Everything's made of protein. People talk about protein. What do you think the cell walls are made out of? Protein. What do you think your body is made out of? Protein. Protein is everywhere. So, we need the proper amounts. Your body is the alchemist. Okay? This is the advanced spiritual practice understanding of alchemy, is that you can breathe in the air and use it to manifest different things inside your body through the chemical composition and your body's ability to break it down. But that's spiritual practices that people get into. It's breatharianism. You can look up Prahlad Jani and Genesis Sunfire, and they do a pretty good job explaining that. So we're transitioning to a whole nother step, and people are still eating meat. Well, you don't need to eat it. It's an addiction. If you stop eating it, you crave it at first. That craving comes, and that's what makes it into addiction. You try something once, and then you get a craving for it. Technically, you're addicted to it. Now, whenever you learn to control your mind and master yourself, self-mastery, you can pull away from any addiction that you want. You can stop doing anything that you want because you just want to stop doing it. You have control of yourself. Otherwise, that voice in the back of your head is there clawing and trying to get its way out. And eventually that voice wins. Like the Native Americans say, there's two wolves that live inside of all of us. You have the wolf that does good things if you feed it good things, and you have the bad wolf that feeds on all your negative thoughts. The one that wins is the one we feed the most, and right now a lot of us are feeding our negative intentions and our bad wolves in some way. So it's very important that we understand these principles and the way that these things break down. Extremely important. In order to fix our society, it's going to require us to start eating right, because we know we should, because we know it stops cancer, because we know that it keeps us healthy. Stop eating as much. Actually, whenever you go into a fasted state and you let your body repair itself, you allow it to clean itself out, and therefore you keep yourself inside of a very pristine state. It's the body's self-preservation mechanism. It kicks in. And you can go for a good while without food. Like, you're going to lose weight, you're going to burn off your fat, because that's what it's made for, is extra energy. And then once your body starts getting used to it, you'll be able to switch your spiritual perception on and just walk around and be like, I'm in a body, blah, blah. You have to learn how to get into different states. That's why meditation is important. Speaking of meditation, everyone needs to at least take 20 minutes out of your day and sit down and practice the art of sitting in the silence. It will benefit them greatly. The people who do drugs, they sit in silence, but they sit in silence in an altered state. And that causes issues, especially with a lot of negative self-talk. And you can't stop your mind. Sitting in silence means to stop thinking completely. To focus your thought and just not thinking. Just focus there. If you're thinking, you're like, oh shit, I'm still thinking. But focus to that voice in your head. Most people are screaming in their head. They're yelling, yeah. They don't even talk to themselves. You hear your voice so loud in your mind. My voice is like a whisper inside of mine. Unless it's coming out of my mouth and it's actively flowing right now. I'm not really planning anything. It's just talk. And there's subjects that I wanted to cover. If we sit around and we actually start doing meditation, taking no thought, doing what we've been instructed to do by our ancient texts, our religions, the actual things the religions are saying and not what the pulpit is saying. It's not the devil. Okay? Meditation does not lead you to the devil. Now, if you want to go towards that direction, you have to consciously think about going dark. But meditation itself, it's a harmless thing. It's all about intent. But of course, once again, that's for spiritual talks. I'm still doing physical stuff right now because I feel like this is necessary for you to understand the type of mindset that I have. Yeah. Addiction is a choice. Taking the drug was a choice, but eventually it becomes a need, and the mind gets confused to believe that that is something that you need to be happy. Vice, understanding the inner part of yourself and enjoying your life. We have all these stressors that are put on us to be this type of successful, to have a family. And not a lot of people are rejecting that, but inside of rejecting that, having a family, we're not reproducing as much. We're low in the world population. And they say that that's good, but we have archons that are in control right now. The less people that we have, and the more we ingest the things that they give us, the more lost we'll become. The people are the power. If you want great change and it's a righteous change, all the people come together underneath a righteous banner. So we are the power. That's just the bottom line. They know this. So the system's designed to start taking away from us our power. And by limiting the people, limiting what you can think, trying to put controls on it. What's false news? What's real news? When we know that all the time they're doing some shady stuff behind the scenes and people are exposing it. I let that speak for itself. You have no credibility. The people who are saying that these things are fake, they don't have any credibility because they keep on destroying their own credibility by the actions they take themselves. And people still listen. Why are you listening? Don't listen to them. Think for yourself. Become yourself. Don't just join into a bad bandwagon of making people feel bad and putting them into victim-based mentality. We do not need a victim mentality society. We need strong people. You're not a victim. You made a choice or you got sick. If you're a victim and you got injured and you started doing some opiates from the hospital, and then they went ahead and from there you start doing some synthetic stuff, well, there you go. You're a victim of the big pharma. You're not a victim of addiction. You're a victim of big pharma, if that's the case. But if you were partying and you made an active choice to put that into your body and to ingest it, then, and you continually do that, you liked it, you kept on doing it, you built the addiction into yourself. You built the chemical dependency on it because your body is an ecosystem, and as you add chemicals into it that doesn't need, it tries to adjust to these new chemicals. So then you get to the point where you need it. And to not need it, you either replace it with the proper nutrients, the proper things, and to allow yourself to heal. And if you want to slowly, you want to reduce it right in half, like right off the get-go, if you're still doing things. And then give yourself like 2 weeks of I would say eating healthy, clean, organic. You got to learn about the vegetables and fruits and what they do, and then cut it down by 1/4 again. And then give yourself another 2 weeks, and then stop it completely. Period. And then you're going to deal with the craves, the urge, the shake, the anger. But you have to have a strong mind. It's all about your mind. It's all about how it's working in here. And if you have that together, you can beat any addiction out there. If you have the will to do it, you can do it. If you have the support to do it, you can do it. If you have other people that are around you that are gray like me, that don't judge you because of your actions, good or bad, but they tell you where you're messed up, and they will give you support to help you complete things that you want to complete, then go to those people and talk to them. Have them help you get to where you need to be. We need a healthy populace. Like I said, as you notice, I'm talking about big pharma, I'm talking about the government. There's a lot of things that are wrapped up inside of all these talks and all these conditions that we're seeing popping up. There's a lot of things that we need to discuss in order for us to get out of this hole that we've dug. This is the place for it. I'm just starting the conversation. Whether you agree with me or not, that's on you. But from what I see, the people are strong. You're powerful. You're able to save yourself. You're able to pull yourself out of this hole. You don't always have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But you can't always have all the physical things in the world you want. But there is a way to restore yourself and to be healthy. You can get the things you need, and as you make yourself healthier, the love that is born within you spills forward. Your cup runs over, and you go ahead and you pass that on to somebody else, and guess what that's going to do? That's going to help somebody else out. And through this act of repairing ourselves and bringing love and helping other people repair themselves, we will repair our overall society, we will get our community back together, and we will make the world into an actual better place. We won't just make America great again, which people will say that's questionable. We will make the whole world great, for sure. I have no doubts about that. Now the problem is just getting people to listen, to reason, and to get out of their victim-based mentality, to break their conditioning. That's the hard part. You have to break your conditioning. So by doing that, you might do some extreme things, fasting, and just various things to get in control of your mind. You gotta get up and start working out. You're gonna have to cut back on your sugar and all your little snacky snacks, because that's what's giving you cancer and making you sick. You need to do the things that are good for you. We're all adults, and if you're not an adult, you're still a child and you see this, you have the ability to get on Google. You have the ability to look up and research what different chemicals do, why the petrochemicals are bad for us, because they're almost bioidentical. It does not mean that they are bioidentical, and it doesn't mean that it's being secreted in the amount that our body would, because our body is self-regulating. So you have the ability to get online and look at what vegetables do what support what organ systems, what's the best way to grow, the organic farming. How do we stop using these pesticides? How do we go back to what we were doing before, but increase it into a mass thing to where everyone's benefiting? We need to get away from this chemical-based society that we are in. Using all these fake chemicals, using all these fake foods, using all of the fake things have made our mind fake and made us delusional. And now we have people walking around with fake butts, fake breasts, fake muscles. You seen those guys that inject themselves to get all huge and stuff? For what? Just work out and be loving of your body and accept it. Have the physical strength you want. Injecting yourself ain't going to help that much. You're altering your physiology. Don't do that. That's what causes you to die early. Your cells just can't keep up. You lose communication. And then disease grows inside your body. And it gives away. So, I'm going to go ahead and end this talk here. Like, comment, share. Tell me what you think inside the post. And I hope you all have a good day. Where does it finish?